Things are really heating up this summer on Xbox with a whole bunch of big new releases on the way, plus a giant expansion for our favourite archaeologist. So here's everything Xbox related that we've got to look forward to in August and September. And before we get into any of the games, there are a couple of big events going on that Xbox will have some involvement with, starting off with Gamescom 2025. There's not too many details yet on what Xbox is bringing to Gamescom, but they will be there from August 20th to the 24th, and yes, FanFest is coming back to Cologne, so why don't you swing on down, say hi to us, we can share a bratwurst together. And then back to back with that, we've got another Xbox event, because this year's Tokyo Game Show runs from the 25th to the 28th of September, giving us gamers a chance to feast our eyes on some of the upcoming wares from developers like Capcom and Bandai Namco, with Xbox also set to put in a little appearance of their own. Last year, we saw two classic Mana games and We Love Katamari dropping onto Game Pass in the middle of the show, so you're definitely going to want to keep an eye out for TGS 2025, or you could subscribe and just let us do it for you. Okay, let's talk games, because we're heading back to the old country on August 8th for a brand new Mafia game. And this prequel, is going to have players rising through the ranks of a Sicilian crime family, taking in the vibrant scenery of the game's semi-open world and then wrecking it all with some nice old-timey crimes. And like the other games in the series, Mafia The Old Country promises a cinematic, narrative-driven experience inspired by classic mob movies. So, if you're looking for a new single-player game to lose yourself in, well, what else can I say but forget about it. I hope you guys are excited for this one, because we're going to have way more coming on Mafia just before its release, alright? Capiche? The Madden team have been crushing tape this season, drawing on a decade of real-life game data to create a sports sim that is so impressive, it deserves its own championship ring. You know, if it had hands to wear them with. And that applies both on the pitch, where quarterbacks now move with their own signature styles, and you've also got a raft of new defensive options to shut them down with. And off of it, where chance, light shows, and game-impacting weather all help to conjure the unmistakable magic of game day. So, if you've got football fever, or perhaps even just, a light football head cold, why don't you check out Madden NFL 26 on August 14th? I mean, it's sure to be a real home run. Yeah, that's going to annoy some people in the comments. Yeah. One of our most decorated FPS series, Delta Force, is back in action on August 19th. And this new entry really has a little bit of everything. Interested in PvE raids and extraction shooting? Well, check out Operations Mode. Fancy taking part in a massive 32-a-side PvP showdown? Well, Warfare is the mode for you. And of course, no Delta Force game would be complete without a cinematic Black Hawk Down-inspired campaign. And best of all, the whole thing is totally free to play, with no pay to win and a top-of-the-line anti-cheat system, so you can be sure that all really is fair in this particular war. Journey to the West is a work of literature so monumental that it's actually still being studied almost 500 years later. But it doesn't feature stylish third-person combat, 60 FPS frame rates, and epic boss fights, so you know what, I'd say that Blackth Wukong is better. Yeah, shove your book. Well, yeah. Inspired by the classic Chinese tale, this action RPG immerses players in a rich fantasy world that's full of deadly creatures and other creatures who aren't deadly, but they're just kind of weird. To survive, though, you're going to need to learn how to swing that staff of yours and master a whole range of spells and transformations. So, what I'm saying is, you really don't have time to be monkeying around. Bad ape puns aside, Blackth Wukong will be released on August 20th. And if brutalizing monsters alongside your pals is the name of the game, then I'd like to throw another name out there: Gears of War Reloaded. Arriving day one on Game Pass on August 26th, Reloaded rebuilds the iconic first game for modern hardware, complete with 120 FPS frame rates, spatial sound, and 4K Ultra HD for Xbox Series X players to enjoy. And whichever Xbox platform you're playing on, cross-platform multiplayer means that you'll never have to go it alone. Curious about what happened before the events of the first Gears game? Well, make sure you subscribe and ring the bell for all the latest updates on the also upcoming Gears of War E-Day. On August 26th, Xbox gamers can join the fight for the future of the galaxy in Helldivers 2. This frantic third-person shooter has players taking on strategic missions together in 4-person squads. There are loads of tools for you to take advantage of, from life-saving armor to explosive weaponry, and figuring out how to put them all together as a team will be the key to completing your mission and not ending up very, very dead. Which is easier said than done, because Helldivers 2's planets are all filled to the brim with deadly creatures, and they're all powered by some fiendishly clever AI. But you know what? It's not called Nice Pleasant Place to be divers now, is it? God, August is a great time to be a gorgeous remake of an acclaimed third-person action game with gear in its name, because we've also got Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. And that means we get to go crawling through the jungle all over again, stealthing our way past guards and getting drawn into a conspiratorial, geopolitical story that may or may not actually make sense. Only this time, the whole thing looks absolutely amazing and plays even better too, with modern controls and real-time damage. Plus, there's a new multiplayer mode where you fight Bomberman. Who's going to say no to that? Ninjas never go out of style, and one of our OG shuriken slingers is back on August 29th with Shinobi Art of Vengeance. From the developers of Streets of Rage 4, this 2D brawler packs some serious style thanks to its unique hand-drawn visuals. And for some reason, the fact that the whole game has been so painstakingly created makes running riot with a katana even more satisfying. I'm not sure why, but I do know that the fast-paced combat and sweet art style makes Shinobi Art of Vengeance a must for old-school action fans. So, not many games give you a polearm and a drone, but Hell Is Us does. And this innovative third-person actioner has players taking on a horde of mysterious monsters who seem to be impervious to most modern weaponry. Fortunately, you've got access to a whole range of specially forged tools, which they are extremely pervious to. And that means you get to fight with swords, polearms, and other cool shiny stuff, all while exploring a rich fantasy world with the help of that aforementioned drone. Hell Is Us will be available on September 4th, and now we can stop droning on about it. There, see what I did there? This next game is an absolute slam dunk for sports fans, because NBA 2K26 arrives on September 5th. The latest entry in the undisputed GOAT of basketball game series has used some fancy new tech to translate actual game footage into its gameplay, so every dribble, steal, and inadvisable three-pointer feels incredibly authentic. Once you've got your crossovers down and your alleys open, well, there's loads of game modes to take on, from running the whole show as a GM in My NBA to trying to take your created player from rookie to globetrotter in My Career. And with full cross-platform multiplayer, you're never going to be short on people to play with either. Swish! On September 12th, we've got new vaults to hunt, a new planet to explore, a creepy new villain to take on, and oh so many new guns to fire with Borderlands 4. The beloved FPS RPG series is making its grand return, and it's basically just ratcheted up everything we love about the series. The gunfights are going to be more frantic than ever before, with players now able to dodge, double jump, and grappling hook. Makes every game better, obviously. Or you could just summon a motorbike out of thin air, because yeah, that works too. The co-op experience is also going to be slicker in Borderlands 4 with a neat new warp mechanic to help you and your buddies stick together, as well as individually scaled loot and difficulty, so that everyone just has a really nice time. Or as nice a time as you can have on a planet filled with murderous weirdos and acid-spewing monsters. Nerve-wracking psychological horror. A small town infested with frightening monsters. Fog. I mean, it can only be Silent Hill, and in fact, it's a brand new entry in the OG survival horror series, Silent Hill F, which arrives on September 25th. We're leaving Maine behind for this one, and we're travelling to a little town in 1960s Japan, where a schoolgirl has suddenly found herself living out a waking nightmare. You know, a waking nightmare filled with challenging puzzles, eerie music, and an engrossing tale about beauty and terror, to be specific. Basically, if you want to start your spooky season a month early, well, check out Silent Hill F from September 25th. Any guesses what the F stands for, by the way? Drop them in the comments. Our beloved Blue Blur is back in Sonic Racing Crossworld from September 25th. In his latest kart racing adventure, Sonic is going to be taking on his largest roster of opponents yet, with 23 iconic Sonic characters and some special guest appearances from across the wider Sega-verse, including Persona's Joker and Like a Dragon's Ichiban Kasuga. And the world blending doesn't end there. Players can actually transport themselves into other dimensions mid-race by using these things called travel rings. It's a mechanic which promises to keep even the most experienced kart racers on their toes. Or wheels. There are all sorts of ways to play football, and there's all sorts of ways to play football games, and EA Sports FC has decided that it wants to be the best at all of them. The new entry features 2 different modes. There's authentic gameplay, which delivers a simulation that's so realistic you can almost taste the halftime oranges. And then there's competitive gameplay, which has been specially designed for the head-to-head action of Ultimate Team and Clubs modes. With refined fundamentals and enhanced responsiveness, competitive gameplay is going to let you remove any ambiguity about whether you do or do not in fact have techers. EA Sports FC 26 is going to be out on September 26th, and Game Pass members can work on their touch while they wait with EA Sports FC 25. Rounding out a couple of months that are absolutely rife with stellar remakes, we've got Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalis Chronicles on September 30th. So back in 1997, Square Enix decided that they weren't quite satisfied with having utterly conquered the JRPG genre, so they made a badass tactics game too, and not being quite so ambitious when it came to naming things, they just called it Final Fantasy Tactics, and a beautiful new series was born. The Ivalis Chronicles allows players to enjoy the first tactics game with improved graphics, full voice acting, and loads of other lovely little quality of life features, plus the option to play the whole thing exactly as it was the first time around in classic mode. So everybody wins. And then on September 4th, it's time to dust off your fedora once again as Indiana Jones and the Great Circle get a shiny new DLC expansion called The Order of the Giants. We'll be heading back to Rome where there will be new puzzles, treasures, foes, and probably some new giant-related information, if I was to guess. The base game does belong in a museum, but you can find it in the Game Pass library. Alright, what's at the top of your to-buy list in August and September? Is it a remade classic or something brand new? Why don't you hit the comments? Let me know. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!